So here we go. Finally time to get this vise onto the end of my Roubo Workbench. I'm using a same type of screw that I used for the leg vise. This one was made a little differently, but it's the same type of deal. So right now I'm just trying to get the threads set up so they'll go in and out of that thing, because this one on the other end is a solid bar, and I actually took it into the metal lathe and stuck it in the metal lathe and cut a channel around it, which will allow me to trap it with the washer on the chop for the vise. And I'll show you a picture of it. I didn't actually film the metal lathe part of it, but there's a picture of it. And here's all the parts. There's the chop, and there's the washer, and then of course the screw, and the washer will fit in here. And then these nice little chrome pipes that I have, these are like 5/8 in diameter, are actually off of the old table saw that I tore apart and rebuilt in my last video. And so I'm going to stick those plastic things, because they fit the pipe just real tight, and there's like a little bit of friction, but they still slide fairly easy. And if they slide too easily, then I can use this screw and tighten it up and actually make them put even more resistance on them. So I figured that'd be a good way to do my little pipes, guide pipes for the vise. So first thing is to get the chop marked out so I know where to drill my holes, both for the screw and for the guides. The mark I just put on there is 4 inches down from the top, because the edge of my bench, of course, is 4 inches. And then I have to mark a spot where I would drill for the screw, allowing for the nut, because it's going to be dropped down below the bench a little bit. So I have to allow space, you know, to keep it from rubbing on the bottom of the bench, the screw I mean. And then I got to figure out how I'm going to put those on. They have a flat top, or top in this particular case, and then I just have to drill my hole low enough that parallels up to the bottom of the bench as well. And at first I marked it 1.5 inches in, and then as I was thinking about it, I was like, well, that's not going to work, because the edge banding is 1.5 inches, and if I put it 1.5 inches in, then it's right on the glue line. I didn't want to put the screws right into the glue line. So I went ahead and remarked it out to 1 inch, and I put the guides out there on the edge banding, so that works out. So then we drill our holes. Here's for the screw. And we'll swap that out for a 5/8 and set a depth, because I don't want to go all the way through with these. And there's for the guides. And then this block is to make a holder for the nut itself. So I drilled the hole first, and then kind of lay the nut on it and draw around it. Use the screw to line everything up, and then drew around it. And then made sure that I was going to have room for my guides. Figured out all that good stuff, and took it over to the bandsaw and cut it out. Alright, so now I've got to cut the arms of the wings, or whatever you want to call it, off of the nut, which I do with the portaband. This tool has been one of the greatest things, I tell you. I save so much money on discs now. And we're going to drill holes in the wings in order to screw it to the block to hold it. But I'm going to do that once I put it up underneath there. Now we're going to get these pipes put into the guide pipes put into the chop. And I just used some 2-part 5-minute epoxy and beat them on down in there. And And then I had to get up underneath the bench. This was the fun part, laying on the floor. Yeah, not my thing. My old legs, my old knees don't like getting up from that. So then I get the start screws, and I put one screw in each one so that I can make sure they line up when I put the guides into them. And then I realized that the guides were too long, so I had to mark that. I cut it off real quick. I also cut the screw while I was at it, so it'd be the right length. I had to cut about 4 inches off of it. Anyway, so then I got it to where it fits and marked them, and then I'll pull that back out and put the second screws in, trying to keep it on the mark, which was successful with one of them, and the other one I had to adjust. So my hole was in the wrong place, but we got it. Now I'm going to have to get that screw put in there. Oh, that's right, I have to cut the washer first. Well, first I marked quarters on it and drilled holes for screws to hold it to the chop once the main screw's in. And then I cut it in half. You can see how this works now. They just fit on there and it turns right in there. We're good to go. Put that in, stuck the washer on, which I really didn't need to do at that point. However, I didn't realize that until later. Then I put the block to hold the nut on there. Brought it up just behind the end edge banding, and then I found out exactly how hard this thing turns. It was a bit harder than I wanted it to be. So at first I thought the washer was rubbing too tightly in the slot, and that really wasn't it. It was a little better when I took it off of there. But what it was is the screw itself was fairly tight in the hole in the chop, so I solved that with some wax, and I'd actually thought of putting the wax on it like at this point, but I put it all back together and then went, oops, I forgot to wax it. So ended up taking it all apart again, and but I just slid the chop out. That made it real easy to get the wax onto the right spot. And then I also waxed the inside of the washer, which also helped out quite a bit. There's the wax. Get everything put back together, and then I tried it out. It's like, oh yeah, that's a lot easier, but still hard enough. It'd be easier with a handle, so let's get a handle on it. I decided not to put a wooden handle on this one, and actually drilled through the 1 3/8" bar first with a 3/16 inch bit, and then with a I believe this was a 1/4 inch bit, maybe a little over a quarter, but I just grabbed a bit out of my little bit box. And then grabbed a 3/8 bit and re-drilled it again. And then I had to hunt around and find the 1/2 inch bit. The one that's supposed to be in my set was not in the set, because I'm terrible about getting things back into that set. So I ended up finding an older one, and I started to use it, and it was not sharp. So I stopped the camera and went over and sharpened it. And I kind of pointed at the camera here, and you'll see it's all shiny. I did that right after I sharpened it. Show it not sharp. Okay, go away, come back. There it's sharp, and we drill it. And it went right through. And then I haven't made the handle I want to put on it yet, but for purposes of the video, I grabbed a 7/16 inch bolt that I had, carriage bolt, and stuck a nut on the other end of it, and that let me finish the video. But my problem is, up here at the top, well, that I splattered oil on it when I was drilling, but up here at the top, it came out lower than the bench top, and I wanted it at the same height. So, since this is white oak and I have a little bit of an abundance of it right now, although I'm getting low, I glued on a piece and then reshaped the top afterwards, and you'll see it in the next scene. I got it all curved and flattened out to the top, but I have the curve on the back side there, you see. And here I marked the hole for the to line up with the bench dogs. Unfortunately, it is off to one side, so that means it torques the vise a little bit. On a shorter piece, that doesn't matter too much. When I've got it like up close to the bench, but when it's farther out from the bench, you kind of have to cut a block to put it on the other side. It'll do for now. Really, it's more of a design for a side vise than it is for an end vise. I don't know. I have the capability of completely changing the design of it if I want, and cutting out parts of the bench and putting in an actual tail vise, but didn't feel up to that challenge just yet. So, and I made my little bench dog on the lathe, obviously. Cut the top of it down to size on the bandsaw, and I mean, it holds. It doesn't torque it all that much, but so was happy with that. But then I just had to get some finish on it. A little touch-up sanding, try to get that oil off. And then we're going to put different oil back on it, the kind that's supposed to be on it. And again, there's that white oak color with the boiled linseed oil. Just awesome. And I also oiled the outside of the screw there, the part that's sticking out, the handle, to kind of help it keep it nice. One of the nice things about boiled linseed oil, it works on metal and wood. So there we go. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you next week.